Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average Nightcasts with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended Clip.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 429, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And joining us, a returning guest on the podcast, a filmmaker, actor, film historian, and archivist and programmer in his own right, too. It's Owen Kline. Hey, Owen.
429. What a... this is a landmark episode.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be number 429.
I know you're only doing the first segment, and I didn't want to put too much pressure on you, but on the occasion of the 429th episode, we are talking about our 42.9 favorite moments from the show, and particularly the fans are comprising their list of the top 429 Malcolmisms. And we'll be reading those after.
Are those who's doing that?
That's a collective effort in the Discord. You know, I know that they are hearing this and realizing that they missed the assignment, quote unquote.
So
it should have been done.
Give me the rundown.
Well, in terms of the Malcolmisms, I think the one that would probably be voted on the highest would probably be proximity theory, which Malcolm, you can explain that, of course.
Yeah, I was trying to wonder. I'm like, I can't even name any of my isms, but yeah, that's a good one.
Well, because to you, it's just
proximity.
normal life.
Well, for me, Cusack is
good.
Yeah.
Malcolm could not say Cusack as in John or Joan for like 5 years, and would always say Cusack.
I still don't know what the problem is there. I still don't quite understand.
You don't hear it.
Cusack, what's the difference? I don't really. Cusack. I'm pretty
there you
lost
go.
on this
See,
one.
I feel like you've gotten it a couple times now, but then you lose it. And
no, every time you're pronouncing it correctly, it's pointedly. It's like Cusack when a wink to the camera.
Anyway,
there was a kid that I met. He's like a younger friend of mine's roommate. You know, precocious young chap, and he had a T-shirt, a Sharpie T-shirt that he had made. Mm-hmm. Yellow shirt, and he had written like the Heartbreak Kid and the cast and stuff, you know, kind of similar to the Heartbreak Kid poster. And he referenced Charles Grodin as Charles Grodin, and I roasted him. And once in a while, I will still just, when I do see him, give him a little bit of guff towards
give him the Grodin. I like Grodin.
Yeah.
That's
affiliation. Just because he had the Sharpie shirt of it, he was like,
I mean, yeah,
so confidently like, Charles Grodin.
Of course, you can't mess with Grodin.
What are some other funny pronunciation things like that, where it's just like, everyone's gonna butcher their name?
Well,
Cusack, you wouldn't even think.
Yeah,
that there would be a problem. That's Grodin. I almost understand, but it's insane.
There's a lot. I mean,
it makes him sound fancy.
Grodin makes it sound like
fine dining version.
Yeah, it sounds like it's someone who writes for a European film magazine, pronouncing
it sounds like a
in
shitty regional restaurant. It's like a French restaurant, Grodin. You know, like just why would you?
Grodin's.
Yeah, Grodin's Grill.
Well, I mean, the big one that trips people up, of course, is Jacques Tourneur, who also is credited as Jack Turner on a lot of his early Warner Brothers ones. I've always said Tourneur because it sounds more French, but I have no idea because, like, he was born in France, right?
I think so.
Sounds right to me. Yeah.
French last names.
Anyway, we are already off the rails and not on topic at all here today on this special episode. But you know, when you get to number 429, it's just such a standard even number milestone that you have to indulge a little bit for the fans.
It's just victory laps from here on out.
Was he from France originally, Turner? I know his dad was a filmmaker and a French filmmaker, but was he
I thought he
I don't
was in
know.
France and he worked there early in, like, I want to say the 30s, and then through that got a contract at Warner Brothers that brought him to the States. That is my remembering of film history textbooks, but I could be wrong there.
Yeah, it says born Paris, France.
Oh, well, that's as France as it gets, right? Paris.
It's
Yeah.
as France as it gets.
Well, that's also another one. I remember claiming that I'd never met a French person before in terms
Oh,
of
yeah.
Malcolmisms. And
Which I still
I've gone
kinda
back on
believe
that.
you.
It's like, yeah, I've met a couple French
Well,
people actually.
you just
I
went
thought
on your
about that.
European tour. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I would
you
hope-
know
France, though.
French people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're closer there.
I don't
Anyway,
think I met any French people.
But don't you guys cringe when someone says the French name of like don't you cringe when someone says "a bout de souffle"? Like, ugh,
Oh,
get
yeah.
the fuck out of here a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, full of breath,
Sure.
asshole.
What-
Fucking.
why does Vivre sa vie get the pass where it's like that Pierrot Le Fou, like no one says that because the English ones are such abominations, I guess.
You raise a good point. I think it's because certain titles are just untranslatable in terms of what they evoke. I don't know the answer to that though. That's a good question.
Because I do agree. I mean, that's like a classic like film studies guy in the 60s, like a Mort Rifkin type move to call Breathless "a bout de souffle," or "les rayons verts" as the green ray for
Right, yeah,
Romer.
green ray, yeah.
That's one that I see a lot. That's like the new version of that is like the Tumblr educated art house people who in all
Yeah, that's the Green
lowercase.
Ray. That's exactly the audience for the Green Ray.
Exactly, which I love. It's a great movie, but I can admit that it is a quote unquote Tumblr movie.
Those are some ostentatious fuck. Of all of the Romer movies, that's maybe the most ostentatious and irritating to me. I mean, in terms of just like, referential to whatever. We don't have to go down this. Fuck cares? We're talking about cool American movies. The fuck is,
Exactly.
Yeah.
fuck the French, these French fuckers.
So not Tumblr, not French is the topic of our discussion today, the 1965 film by Joseph Cates, Who Killed Teddy Bear. Owen, you are coming on the podcast today because you are presenting a theatrical run of a restoration of this film at Film Forum in New York. Is that correct?
That is correct. 6 years in the making. About 6 years ago, Joe Rubin, who I knew a little bit, Vinegar Syndrome proprietor, one of several, but a pivotal one, mentioned that he stumbled upon this fine grain that was at MGM. Took a second to even get in there, but this fine grain existed that was indeed the director's cut, or the most complete version of Teddy Bear, with 5 additional minutes to any cut that was out there. This is a movie that was heavily bootlegged in the 80s and 90s. I think essentially because of murky, confusing copyright status. But it was out there, at least in every video store in New York, with a cult section. You'd find a videotape of Teddy Bear with a runtime, varying runtimes, but slight differences in certain scenes. There's a pool scene where Sal Mineo seems to be half erect, and different things were cut out of different ones. A couple of frames here, a couple frames there. The top of the movie, not to get fully in the weeds, but yeah, like the top of the movies had this, these two seemingly naked bodies gyrating over each other, versions of it. Like the UK cut of it was blurred out, so some tapes would have that. I've been looking at this movie though as a 14-year-old when I first stumbled upon it, and was interested in cult film, trauma movies, movies like Cry Uncle or The Toxic Avenger or Them. These were like some of the first like B titles, studio and just cult titles in general, that was kind of gravitating towards, drive-in movies, monster movies, etc. Finding that this was a part of my grandfather's career, who I only really understood to have this illustrious career in television. He was like a television pioneer. He was there in 1947, but all the way through the 80s and 90s with these television specials was what he was known for, is kind of keeping the television special alive. We could get into his innovations in a bit, but it was staggering to stumble upon what felt like to me the ultimate cult title, the ultimate exploitation title, and walking that line, that elegant line of, because a lot of these exploitation movies from, the mid-century onward, like, of course, are just shock for shock's sake. And of course, that's sort of a part of this movie's history, is that it was intended to be for no stars. He told the writer, who was the comic book creator Arnold Drake, who was writing Jerry Lewis Adventure Comics, but created Doom Patrol for DC and the Guardians of the Galaxy. He was a co-creator of. He was a comic book writer. Encouraged him to write something incredibly shocking and sell it on shock alone. And the plan was just a starless film that they could sell on shock alone. But he wrote, I feel like he created something much deeper than that, at least for me. Anyway, there's a whole long story to this
No,
movie.
I mean, this is like posed as an exploitation movie or whatever, but was much more evocative of European art house movies than anything else to me, or even just like British, more realist movies. I remember, actually, I think you had said something negative about this movie last time, but this felt like the demented B-side of Bunny Lake is Missing or something like that, more than a lot of the cult movies that you would find in like the Something Weird catalog or something like that. At least from my first viewing of it. And I say that in a very positive way. The film, especially in this restoration, looks fantastic. The black and white, heavy chiaroscuro stuff, like especially the incredibly like sensuous opening that you alluded to, Owen, with those like naked bodies just rubbing up against each other vaguely, with that super gauzy sheen. It's just a really incredible aesthetic object before you even get into the text, which is so just classically perverted, and really just feels like, as if you're watching one of these like 50s, and I know this is in 1965, but it's almost like watching one of these 50s JD movies or something like that, that just takes the darkest turns possible at every corner and is stylized in such a highly artistic way. And I really liked this one. What about you guys? Malcolm, had you seen this one before?
Yeah, I had seen it before. I guess I can't really remember in the context in which I put it on. I guess I don't know. I was just looking for, I think I just wanted to watch some more like 60s New York stuff. And I mean, this is something that really delivers on, the location of it. And yeah, it's, and I kind of, even though I feel like I'd seen it somewhat recently, I feel like I kind of forgot the intricacies of it all. And like, it is like exploitative, I guess, in a sense, but there's just a real fascination with perversion here and kind of like where it comes from and how people dissect it with like the lieutenant character. And, it's all reflected just with this, kind of bleary black and white. I definitely thought, I had a similar thought. I thought of Bunny Lake is Missing. And I kind of thought of a lot of like these like 60s black and white movies, especially like towards like the mid 60s. I feel like a lot of them kind of have like a delirious quality, even if they are not like, all tackling the same subject matter. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's just kind of a random thought I had, but I just feel like there's a lot of like 60s black and white. And I feel like the mood is like kind of crazy in those movies. And this one's no exception. And I don't know, it's really interesting. Like the cast, like Sal Mineo, he was in Rebel Without a Cause, right?
Yeah,
like
of course. That's his
yeah,
big, prominent
big
role.
big
Yeah.
role. And then like, I say cast, I guess I mean him, and just seeing Elaine Stritch as like kind of the the club owner, the bar owner, and I feel like I was like, where do I recognize her from? And she's been in a lot of stuff, a big stage performer, but 30 Rock, she's like Jack Donaghy's mom
Of
in 30
course.
Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
great late style performance from Stritch there on 30 Rock. Yeah.
So here's what's interesting. First, regarding Sal Mineo. So Sal Mineo had started in these JD movies and was considered, his like nickname was the Switchblade Kid. He had
Mhm.
kind of aged out of that persona and was a little bit more, had kind of matured out of his baby face or whatever, the Play-Doh character that everyone remembered him for, although equally troubled character in this movie. But of course I'm talking about Rebel Without a Cause. So yeah, he was in Dino when he was younger. Some of these, it was all these JD pictures, but and then he struggled for a couple years, and was in Exodus and stuff, but and played Tonto. But he had sort of it's that thing that people hit on when they're teens, teen idol, where suddenly you're look a little more adult, and he was being dogged by the sort of, chased by these gay rumors and everything, the tabloids. And doing this movie was really risky and ballsy for him. And originally, the movie was designed to be, um, again, like a starless film that would be sold on shock alone. And then at some point, it was decided, like, oh, well, we got Sal Mineo. And when the phone rang, apparently, according to these two Sal Mineo biographies, he claimed that he didn't have any work at the time and stuff, but this kind of permanently put him on the weirdo list, and he claims ruined his career. But so that's how Sal Mineo came into the fold. But my grandfather was a really gregarious and generous guy, and kept Sal Mineo working after the film, and put him on stuck him in like the second cast of What Makes Sammy Run, the Bud Schulberg Broadway musical, because my grandfather was across television and Broadway.
Yeah, I did some light research on that beyond what you had sent me, and it seemed like he's kind of the forefather of the television special, the variety show kind of thing, which is something we have never really talked about on this podcast. It's never really had reason to come up, but it is a pretty major thing to be a like stylistic slash formal forebearer of something as long lasting and popular as that.
It's amazing to think about that generation. He grew up. He was before he went to the war and stuff. He was an usher at the Lowe's Paradise in the Bronx, and loved the Cowboys and Indians, and I imagine loved some of those Busby Berkeley and variety, movies in the early sound era, and a little and through the early 40s. His career in television came in 47, and then but he went to the war before that and everything. But it's amazing to think about the movies that he might have been sweeping up and catching, as well as the movies he grew up in going to and seeing in the Bronx at the Lowe's Paradise, which operated both as a variety theater, not exactly a vaudeville theater, but there was live vaudeville acts would play there. It was live burlesque, not burlesque, sorry, live performance, and that's how it had started, and as well as films. And the films, of course, you think of those Busby Berkeley movies, or movies like 42nd Street or Sitting Pretty, or some of those early musical movies, and you would see a variety of acts. You'd see a variety of performers of all different talents and abilities, comedians and singers, and so it's amazing to think just a couple years later, in 47, he was doing variety television, and then in 49 doing the Cavalcade of Stars, met Jackie Gleason there, carried over to the Jackie Gleason show with him, and designed, my grandfather, the first set of The Honeymooners based on his old water flat in the Bronx. So like the archetypal, sitcom set essentially. And cast Art Carney as Norton in The Honeymooners. The original Trixie was Elaine Stritch. He brought in Elaine Stritch. We're talking about the early 50s, you know? So he had known Elaine Stritch. And I think this was an independent, you know, Teddy Bear was an independent film production out of New York, you know? And he brought in people I think that he knew. I assumed because he had this early career in television, and you know he co-created the first game shows, the $64,000 Question, and a lot of the devices on that show. He left long before the famous Scandal, but he. So I imagine someone like Jan Murray he knew from television, and Jan Murray apparently punched up his own dialogue in the movie, but. You know, because Jan Murray was like a game show MC. But he had actually met him on the GI Bill because my grandfather was, yeah, in World War II, he flew a rescue plane, and on the GI Bill learned directing coming out of that while Jan Murray was teaching acting, it turns out.
Wow.
Learned this from an interview with the screenwriter, Arnold Drake, who I was talking about, the comic book writer. So I found that really interesting. But so he was bringing in a couple of people that he knew. In Elaine Stritch's biography, she talks about, though, going to this small set. You know, I imagine, I think it was in the winter. You know, it seems like everyone's bundled up in the film, which gives it a kind of an icier, even more predatory kind of quality. The fact that it's winter in New York, but she mentions in her biography. Like everybody carpooling in the freezing cold, you know, and sharing these cars, all these stars, and everyone's like looking at each other like, what are we doing? You know, like, what are we doing in this thing? Something like that, akin to that. Or just like no one understood why all these stars were doing this cheap little exploitation movie because these were names, you know. Stritch was a name in that time, you know. Jan Murray was a name, and certainly Sal Mineo was a name. And no one had really understood that he had you know, fallen off the turnip truck a little bit and was on the ropes, you know. I'm sure granted, it's a great character, you know, and I'm sure to a degree, he goes, wow, this is a great script and a great character. But it's you know, I mean, calling it a B movie is even a bit, it's an independent exploitation film, you know, through and through.
And we haven't really said what the movie is about 20 or so minutes into the episode, but I think you can almost put together some of it.
You've got sexual damage and sexual confusion, and that's what's interesting about the film, I think, is that Juliette Prowse is sort of the central character in it, right? I don't want to ruin the movie, but she's sort of the central character in it. She's being preyed upon. She's like working at this discotheque, right?
Yeah, she's like a cool DJ. She's like one of the original cool DJ girls.
Yeah, she's playing the twist, you know, and
some really great nightclub dancing scenes too. To those twist numbers. Those guys are
when they're doing it all. The monkey, you know. The dancing stuff is great. And of course, that classic scene between the two of them, Sal Mineo and her, before that god awful thing happens. But yeah, she's sort of being preyed upon by the whole cast. It's this sort of shooting gallery of odd people who all want a little piece of her, including Elaine Stritch as this lesbian nightclub owner. You know, every taboo in the book. I mean, lesbianism. I don't want to ruin all the taboos. They're all great.
That's the thing. There's certain taboos that if you read like a Wikipedia description, you'll almost spoil the plot without even going through the plot. So maybe we should beat around the bush a little. I like doing this. JT, just vaguely speaking, how did you feel about this movie? Was this first viewing for you as well as me?
Oh yeah, it was the first viewing, and I thought it was amazing. Like in the way we're talking about it and talking about perversion, I think like there are a lot of like movies I feel like kind of come out like there's an ethnic ethnographic quality to some like 60s exploitation movies
Sure.
that feel like you're really soaking in the time and the place, and you get to like that in some of the longer, like the dance sequences here somewhat feel like that. But even beyond that, it feels like just like exploring perversion as a whole. Like there's an ethnographic quality of like, look at all the different ways you can be perverted, look at the ways that like how this emerges, like little moments that I feel like in a lesser film or one less interested in exploring that whole range, I don't think you get little beats. Again, I'm not giving away too much, but like when the daughter of the lieutenant is like kind of falling asleep hearing these like twisted sexual calls,
Hmm.
like hearing them in the other, like that's like a lovely beat of just like getting the ways like perversity is soaking in.
Mhm.
Again, that I feel like a film that wasn't as smart as this would just not, like totally like exclude.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's amazing about it. Like all the characters and some, the central thing going on is, not to ruin too much, but Juliet Prowse, once Frank Sinatra's fiance,
Mm.
uh, was is getting these obscene phone calls in the film. She doesn't know that this isn't ruined too much, I don't think, but she doesn't understand that or know that it's this sexually damaged kind of proto-incel Sal Mineo character who's a busboy at the restaurant she works at and has a crush on her. Has no way to express his sexuality. And seeing how just the tameness of these integrated dance sequences, because it's black people and white people dancing in this club. It's clearly a liberated place, although there's still some repression in the dance. It's not quite we're not quite at the bar mitzvah grinding, whatever. The dancing is pretty tame. That juxtaposed with all the sleazy Times Square stuff, which is undressed. They clearly just went into adult bookstores and seeing Sal Mineo in that jacket. That jacket is to a T the Travis Bickle jacket. I'm not trying to call anyone out here, but
No, the scene
seeing
where
him all
he's
bundled up in that weird jacket and going into these adult bookstores.
that and him lifting weights toward the end. I mean, the lifting weights, there's one shot where you have an incredibly phallic, like pistol rod pumping out of the workout equipment. But that scene, more than just him wearing the Travis Bickle jacket, reminded me of Taxi Driver. But also what I was thinking about the undressed Times Square pervert district is that it's crazy how little changes when you look at these films using that as like an ethnographic thing, where, like, as you said, it's undressed in the sense that the scenes of him looking at these bookstores, it feels like the camera, like Sal Mineo, is like gawking at the shelves of just like the titles of magazines and books and how gross they are or whatever. Or for him, he's like trying to find some sort of sexual release due to some circumstances that we won't spoil necessarily. And I know usually on this podcast we do kind of spoil things, but this is a movie that really has some like turns in it that you want to feel in real time, I think. But also, so you think that, and then you think like 15 years later to another movie we've talked about on the podcast, Night of the Juggler. Like when Brolin is rolling through that district, and granted, I've only seen that on VHS. I haven't watched the new restoration yet. But it looks like the same almost, like, and so it's really weird to see this really great looking fine grained 60s black and white photography with like a familiar Hollywood star running through that same locale that Dan Hedaya and the Juggler were running through on a VHS grindhouse tape 15 years later.
Yeah, even just the way that the film fetishizes paper goods in a way, and seeing those nudist mags and how he touches them. I mean, there's not much to, if you're running into, you have to see him touch all these things. But even the scene with Jan Murray, you mentioned when he puts his daughter to bed, and again, every character is sort of predatory and feels like they're preying on Juliet Prowse. The chubby guy at the bar that says, "Let me buy you a Frankfurter,"
Which is a great pickup line. If you're ever at a bar, by the way, and you find an attractive young lady in your sights, you should first ask if she's hungry, and no matter what, offer to buy her a Frankfurter on the outside.
Isn't it?
Doesn't he also say, like, "I'll rent it, I won't even buy it"? Or he's really,
he drops some sleazy lines.
You know who that is?
Really going for it.
Is Rex Everhart, who among many titles, he's in a lot of movies in the 60s and 70s, and I think was a Broadway actor, but he's the voice of the father Maurice in Beauty and the Beast.
Weirdly. Oh, wow.
His credits are pretty fascinating.
His credits are insane. This was his first film credit, too, which is very strange.
Was it?
Yeah, he did television before and he had stage stuff before, but his first film credit is Who Killed Teddy Bear, and his last film credit is Beauty and the Beast. He plays a truck driver in Friday the 13th.
I
don't remember that, but I haven't seen the first Friday the 13th in like 10 years. So I can't say I owe it a rewatch.
I can't remember him in Matilda, the boxing kangaroo film. That's a great movie. Great video store idiocy.
Wow. I had never. This is Robert Mitchum and
he's
Elliot.
in the 7-Ups.
How did I not know about this Elliot Gould Robert Mitchum movie about a boxing kangaroo? That is insane.
It's pretty interesting. I can't say it's great, but it's absolutely a curiosity. And something, a conversation starter. But yeah. Anyway, everyone is preying on her. From that guy to, the boss to even Jan Murray, you don't know what the deal is there. And him listening to these tapes of, sexually traumatized cases or whatever, that he's worked on. Clearly it's his obsession, and just the idea of that I think is so deep too, and the idea of if you're obsessed with if you're the guy is the sleuth on killers and murderers or something, you're just completely obsessed, like people are just completely obsessed with true crime even in a casual way now, and that's what they want to put on it. It's a strange obsession, but this guy's niche, clearly his little pocket there is these kinds of cases. And what's he running from exactly, but you're going across his table with that shot where you hear these reel-to-reels, and that's actually Joe's wife, my mother's mother, Lily Cates, is one of the voices of case number 468 or whatever it is. And you're hearing these people across this table of sexual neurosis and book titles like that. And some of them are just sort of non-sexy titles, but then there's like When She Was Bad. And it's like some little tawdry paperbacks in there that he's put Vaseline on the lens to sort of these almost like, I don't know, just the sexualization of paper and the physical aspect of sleazy pulp paperbacks and nudist magazines. And this was one of the pieces that was cut out of the film, actually, that is now in the film. It was in bootleg video cuts of it and over the years, but it's not in every version. And now it's now it's cemented into this director's cut in this film. It was in there. Is in the adult bookstore. He's sifting through all this stuff and looking through the nudist magazines or whatever, and you're seeing William Burroughs' Naked Lunch and Tropic of Cancer,
Yeah,
Henry Miller and
yeah.
Fanny Hill, all of these literary books that would, they'd have to sell as well as an adult bookstore. But then he picks up and touches, to Sal Mineo's character, a book called Beach Stud, a gay paperback.
Yeah.
Just some gay dime store book. And so it kind of cements the movie for me as queer as queer film. It certainly it's played a lot. The Strand did the last run of it, and a proper run of it in the 90s, when it played in 96 at Film Forum, or so, and it's played a lot of LGBT and queer and gay film festivals. It's a beloved gay title, not only just because Sal Mineo is in it, and is he bisexual, is he this or that, but I was amazed at this touch. And of course, I don't know if the distributors had cut it out. I don't know what the story is there, why it's not in the majority of bootlegs of this movie.
It's so strange.
It's all unofficial until this Vinegar Syndrome release. This is the first official release of the film. So it's definitely curious, and it's definitely ballsy of Sal Mineo, who we don't know if he was bisexual or gay, or he was certainly gay, but he apparently had a fling with Juliette Prowse on this movie. Look, it's not really known, but it's just kind of fascinating to think of this closeted kid and struggling at a point in his career playing this sexually confused character. Like it's kind of amazing.
So I know, Owen, your time is somewhat limited tonight, so we are going to wrap up the Who Killed Teddy Bear segment here. Any final thoughts on this, and also tell the people about the screening that starts, I believe the screenings start tomorrow, because this episode comes out on Thursday the 7th.
That's right. So the first screening is tomorrow at Film Forum. I'll be talking about the film a bit. What I'll say is trying to get it across the country and across the world. There's going to be, I can't talk about it everywhere we've booked it yet, but there's going to be screenings in LA. There's going to be screenings in Boston, it's looking like. Run towards your walk, don't run, run, don't walk towards your local theaters, and bang on the ticket booth and demand to see the 35 millimeter print. If they're a good projectionist and not crappy ones, we'll ship over the 35 millimeter print if the schedule allows for it. We have Blu-ray exhibition copies. We have proper DCPs. Hell, if you're in France, you got a theater in France you'd like to put it up at, we'll slap some subtitles on there. We'll find a way. If you're in if we need to put up the subtitles in, if you're in Cairo, you got a theater in Cairo, we'll throw some Egyptian up on there. Whatever it is, we will find a way. I'm trying to book this thing across the universe, So,
all right. Well,
dream walking release this time.
Owen, before I let you go, there are a couple things that I want to ask you about that are just you can give very brief answers if you want, because I know how limited.
I'm in no rush. Tell me, ask me. Yours.
And we'll kind of stitch it together. The three of us will give our final thoughts on the movie in a little bit, but
yeah, I feel like I've hogged the mic, but
no. That's the purpose of having a guest. Okay, so a few things that I've seen you up to lately that I'm just kind of mystified by. One, I woke up this morning at 5 a.m. and the first thing I saw on Instagram was you swallowing a sword. How long have you been swallowing swords?
Well, I've always had an interest in magic and the sideshow tricks and ventriloquism, and for the last 15 years or so, I've done sort of comedy ventriloquism, comedy magic stuff, and will go up in New York, and was asked to do my friend Sophie Becker's show, which I performed at, I guess it was last night somehow, and did a couple of tricks and a couple of sideshow tricks. I no longer nail nails into my nose, but I do still do a classic sword swallow,
Nice.
as was taught to me by Squeaky in Coney Island,
Wow.
dearly departed. So I've tried to carry on the sideshow tradition. It's fading in America, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like one particular ventriloquist dummy that I've seen you kind of put the spotlight on more recently, at least over the last like 8 months or so, I would say.
Yeah.
Is his name Chuckles? Is that it? Or is
Chester Cheeks is his
Chester
name.
Cheeks. Chester Cheeks. Tell me about this character.
Well, Chester, he's a bad boy. He's a bad little boy. You know, he's a bad boy. He's believed to be constructed in the 1950s by Colonel Bill Bowley of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, which is, for some reason, Kentucky is this vent central place. There's just a lot of ventriloquism going on there now and for quite a long time. Chester is sort of an offshoot of that guy was a magician and ventriloquist and constructed a ton of these puppets. And would do magic tricks with them and things. Funny ones too. Very inventive figure. Chester Cheeks is sort of in the he's almost like a fifth cousin of Mortimer Snerd. You know, the second banana to Charlie McCarthy, Edgar Bergen. You know, once as famous as Taylor Swift in his day.
Yes, of course.
On the radio and films, you might have seen him in You Can't Cheat an Honest Man with Mr. Fields. You might remember him as you might know him as Candace Bergen's shitty father. You know, she's spoken very badly about him. He left about I'm going down other rabbit holes, but Mr. Bergen apparently left her something like $10 in his will, and Charlie McCarthy $10,000, $15,000 because he was there for him.
Wow.
I can't imagine Candace Perkins. It seems like she's outspoken about her frightening childhood with her father and these puppets. He was a cold man. But yes, his second banana puppet, the second number two after Charlie McCarthy is Mortimer Snerd. You talk like that. Chester's a little more refined than Mortimer, but he has the buck teeth.
Yeah.
You know,
okay. I see a picture of Mortimer right now, and I can definitely see the resemblance. Yeah.
Yeah. You know this character. I mean, when we were kids, you know, they still made the Mortimer Snerd puppets and the Charlie McCarthy puppets, and you've probably seen. But there must have been. I know this man. Those little plastic replicas around, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm well. This man is very familiar.
Yes. But as you can see right now, I'm throwing my voice right now. I don't know if you can tell, but it's very difficult to not move your lips. You have to replace all these letters with. I'm not going to do Chester Cheeks' voice though, because
I think that doing it on Zoom, like with the 144p video, you get away with it. You get a little more wiggle room too. Like I don't have.
Right now, can you tell I'm moving my lips? I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, I really don't.
No.
That's master level.
Is Chester gonna like appear in any like filmed projects anytime soon, you think?
He's really for the stage. I really believe in trying to have a unique and original act for the stage. I have a trunk act, you know, carry him around in a vaudevillian steamer trunk with a couple of my other props. I'm not a prop comedian though. I'm just a traveling vaudevillian. I really believe in just having him just. Maybe one day he'll appear in something, you know. He might make a cameo on one of my films, but for now he's for the stage, you know. Everyone else has their little stand-up acts, and they go around. There's nothing wrong with talking about your dating life into a microphone, but I try to give the people something different.
I mean, obviously, I'm not asking for him to appear at all, just since you know him so well. How does he feel about like? You know, like personal stand-up that's not really like joke heavy and more like stories about dating. How does Chester feel about that type of performance?
If it's a chick that'll talk to him, or it's something he can benefit from in any way, unplatonically speaking, he's fine with whatever you do, literally anything. Yeah,
I guess I get the
Maybe one of the
now.
predators
It's all coming together to me.
Teddy bear, perhaps.
One more question before you go, and this is like, not quite bad form, but like the thing is, you are not the only person who I hold the standard to. I just try not to ask people about like their family because it's personal, But we've been talking about like your grandfather's film. So what do you think about your dad's performance in Ricky and the Flash?
I plead the fifth on that one. I mean, I can't talk about that movie.
I loved that movie.
You like the movie?
I had a ball.
Yeah, Ricky and the Flash is awesome.
We had a great time.
I have to revisit it.
We had a great time. It's a great relic of like the day before Trump got elected, what America was like.
Tie it all in. I just met the child of Demi's last night at this thing. And I'd never met him before. He told me that he had a memory of smoking grass with my dad on that movie. Really amusing.
Oh,
it's not something I know my dad to do. He mostly just sits and paints and plays the piano at 77 years old. But what do I make of the movie? At the time, I haven't really seen it since the time it came out. I remember a couple of nice scenes in it. It's time for a reevaluation. I got to visit the set, and I talked to Jonathan Demme about Van Dyke Parks and Neil Young a little bit. I remember having some nice conversations with him. My co-writer on this project that I'm working on was Demme's film student. He was in grad school with and Demme taught this television class, about television production, and they kind of settled on a Hoagie Carmichael record together to put into the film, nice. And so they bonded over that, and this is just sort of a testament to Demme's character. He was like, "Hey, Bill, any if you ever have a project or want to talk about it or whatever, come to my office," and gave him the address and everything. Like, I think he was a very accepting and not a gatekeeper in this regard. I think he was a really generous soul. So that's what I have to say about Demme.
And to bring it full circle to something we brought up 45 minutes ago, Hoagie Carmichael, songs featured in a Western by none other than Jacques Tourneur. Tourneur.
Oh, which Hoagie Carmichael record? In what movie?
In Canyon Passage. Oh. What is the song?
I can't say I've seen Canyon Passage, honestly.
Ooh, it is a special one.
Hoagie Carmichael's great in that. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a Western, although I think he made maybe a couple, right?
Tourneur made at least
really good.
2 Westerns. Canyon Passage is the one I know. That's a Pacific Northwest set Western that's one of the most incredible looking ones that there is. But it's Hoagie Carmichael's Old Buttermilk Skies.
Old Buttermilk Skies is not one that I know of.
It's a 1946 Technicolor Western. It is a truly insanely cool looking movie.
I would rather see a black and white Western from him, but that's exciting. I'll check that out.
It's the only.
Stars in My Crown is black and white.
Oh, he did Stranger on Horseback, which I have seen actually. Joel McCrea.
Okay. Stars in My Crown is arguably a Western, though. Like, it has a Western poster. Yeah. It has a Western poster, and then you watch it, and it's more of a small town drama.
Not that it's a bad movie, but I feel like is Stranger on Horseback.
I haven't seen that one, but Stars in My Crown, if it counts, then that's by far his best Western. It's my favorite movie of his.
Great Day in the Morning, also really good too. That's a good one. Robert Stack.
In my very brief time working for him, and when I say working for him, it's very indirect, but I did get to chat with Tarantino about Tourneur, and because he was talking about like a serial that he worked on, and I overheard, and I was like, dude, you got to screen Stars in My Crown sometime. That's like my favorite movie. Oh. And he just gave me a chuckle. He's like, yeah, he's a good director. I was like, all right.
I gotta reevaluate Stranger on Horseback, because I remember it. I remember it being evocative, but I don't really remember. great. I probably haven't seen it since I was 15 or something. But those Turner
Yeah.
movies, I mean, it all started for me with obviously
The
the
Luton ones.
Val Luton box set,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, those are awesome.
all right.
Classics.
I'm gonna dip into some of these westerns.
Yeah. No, you got to do Canyon Passage. But all right, we will let you go now, Owen. Thank you for being generous with your time.
Oh, what are you talking about? I asked to come on. Didn't I ask to come on here? This was.
It was something I don't know. But we said half an hour, and it's been like 50 minutes. So that's why I'm saying you're being generous.
This was fun. It's always fun. I'll come back anytime. Something, especially if I got something to hawk.
Of course, we're always hawking.
Excellent. Always a pleasure. JT, Malcolm, Eddie, Three Stooges. Love them.
Oh,
I'm definitely
That's a
Mo.
compliment.
They can fight. They'll fight over the other two spots
True.
of who's Curly and who's Larry. They'll fight that out.
Oh, come on. I think, honestly, first of all, Eddie, you're trying to bury the lead here. You're Curly. And you got the haircut to prove it. All right? JT is Shemp. Malcolm's Curly Joe.
Oh wow, Curly
Yeah.
Joe. Not a lot of Curly
That's a
Joe
great
heads out
Stooges
there.
lineup there.
Yeah.
I know
that's
that
a unique one.
there's been like an ironic Shemp wave that turned into a sincere one, but I don't think the Curly Joe heads are in like their 20s and 30s yet out there. But they'll get there if Malcolm's representing him.
I just set the bar, I'm trying to be an influence with you. This is why I'm everybody. Let's get into the Curly Joe stuff next. That's another episode, though.
Also, okay, final question. Which stooge of any stooge in history is Andrew Dice Clay?
Well, he's my Mo in a way.
Yeah.
Because even though I own his ass on camera, off camera, it's all like, what are you doing? Why are you eating it then? But it's a bit. As he once said to me, you always commit to the bit. He never gives it up.
He's the best. All right. Well, good night, Owen.
Good night. Pleasure.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Salute.
All right. Owen Kline, ladies and gentlemen. Malcolm, any brief final thoughts on Who Killed Teddy Bear and a bullet rating?
Yeah, just for like low budget filmmaking, I feel like it has really good instincts. Like anytime where it kind of feels like there's like a lull, like that's when we get out into the city, we start running around. And that stuff that Owen was talking about with the lieutenant at home, and he's playing like these murder tapes. And yeah, that might be my favorite shot of the movie, where it's like he has all his like research papers, but then it's like mixed in. It's not even just paper. It's like there's just straight up like teenage pornography or whatever. Like there's like some real like illicits. Like he's really mixing the medicine, so to speak. You know what I mean? Mixing the research and pleasure. But I guess you could. It's all under the guise of, oh, it's research, I guess. And it is kind of like you think of like detectives, like I feel like the movies have really hyped up being a detective as like one of the coolest jobs, but I feel like in this one they're like, okay, they're basically like true crime podcast fans. Like that's how they become good at like being a detective. They're just listening to all this shit. It's not as illustrative, as I don't know, kind of hanging in the shadows. But this is just a real like the balance of how it handles all its like subjects, its taboo subjects, and kind of how there seems to be like a real interest in like interrogating them rather than depicting them. And I love that the ending is just, I guess we're not doing spoil, but there's a lot of running. He tries to outrun his perversions in a sense, and it's just not something that you can outrun. It's I guess you gotta sit down and get into those issues. But I'm gonna give it 4 bullets. It's just a real unique object with like a very, as Owen laid out for us, just like a unique set of people kind of coming together to make this project, and I think the quality reflects that.
JT, what about you? Any final thoughts and a rating on this one?
Yeah, I'm going 4 bullets. Well, I think that, like, yeah, I don't know, just as an object, like hearing Owen talk about the like history of the project is just so fascinating because I think like when you think of like an independent film from like that era in like regards to like American filmmaking, again, it does lean like more exploitation side, but like this, like while it is like an exploitation movie, like all of the pieces that came together to make the film, I feel like are so unique and interesting. And yeah, also like echoing Malcolm, I think the one of the more interesting angles of the film is how like the detective his the just self-assigned the subcategory of like pervert like pervert studies, like going deep in there and how that's like nefarious. It does like even like true crime things, obviously that's the big analog, but I feel like there are so many like viral online like right-wing pedophile hunters where it's just like on like paper, like it's something where it's just like, oh, okay, like stopping pedophiles, that's good, but like the obsession with it becomes so like fever pitched. It's just like, what are you hiding behind there? Why are you in this so much? And I mean, obviously they reveal like the detective sort of fascination there, but even still, it doesn't like, again, it's like people are perverts for a reason, and the film does such a great job at exploring why and just like exploring seediness in general. Like we didn't even talk about like the knife, the like not knife fight, but the stabbing that happens at the club in the beginning. Just like so many weird little odds and ends here that again just like make it a sensational exploitation movie.
Yeah, I have something on like those conservative pedophile hunting videos. Like there was one creator who I think is like now arrested in a foreign country. I think this guy's like locked up himself, not for pedophilia. I don't think. I don't know. I can't confirm that, but he would get like famous rappers to join in on like his pedophile hunting, and it all just seemed very like staged, like because they wouldn't even from what I remember of these videos, they wouldn't like report them to the police. They would just like humiliate them and like kind of beat them up, which that's not really productive. Yeah. But
No, it is
I
not.
was I guess that's kind of fun in a sense, but it's not really you're not really
No,
solving the
no.
problem there. But I was walking with um I was walking with, Armando and Avery. We saw like a movie at New Beverly, and we were just walking and like, away from it, trying to like, I don't know, find a place to like eat or drink or whatever. And I'm walking by this location and I'm like, oh my God, I recognize this location. This is where the Ty Dolla Sign Vitaly pedophile confrontation happened. Like, and like it was such like
Oh God.
I feel like I don't have like knowledge come down for me from the heavens like that, where it just like immediately I knew like, oh no, this is where it is. And I looked it up to confirm, and I was completely right. It's like right next to like this, like plant store, or they have a lot of like distinct looking plants outside of their store. And yeah, that I think they like shave, they make like a pedophile get like a bad haircut. They fuck them up with some trimmers. So yeah, I just, it's movie related because I was walking from a movie. So I don't know. That was one of the, I wish I had better knowledge coming down from the heavens like that, but that's what it felt like. It felt like I just got hit with like a lightning bolt of info.
I am gonna go 4 bullets on this one. I really liked this movie a lot. I loved this movie, and I can't wait till it screens in Los Angeles. It's gonna be a great time. I'm going to be there. All right, and make sure you guys all in New York go see the screenings. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, it's going all through the weekend into early next week at Film Forum NYC. And join the Patreon for $5 a month. You get an extra episode every single week. And also sign up for my blog at vintageviolence.substack.com/clipped, as in I'm so clipped. You'll get 20% off for listening to the podcast. 20% off any paid subscription. Goodbye.